For a franchise that has spent nearly 6 decades reinventing itself, Star Trek has rarely enjoyed a moment of clarity as sharp as the one it found with Strange New Worlds. The series arrived like a revitalizing warp surge, colorful, optimistic, deeply character-centric, and defiantly episodic in an era dominated by serialized storytelling. Sitting at the center of all that charm, certainty, and effortless grace is Captain Christopher Pike, portrayed with soulful steadiness by Anson. And lately, Mount has made it clear he has ideas, a plan, a vision for Pike and the show's future. The only reasonable response? Let Pike cook. Because if Strange New Worlds has a secret weapon, beyond the chemistry of its cast, the retro-modern aesthetic, and the tonal variety, it's the ability to evolve without losing its heart. And the best evolution it could embrace right now is simply letting Pike take center stage in the way Mount clearly believes he can. The franchise has spent years carefully building this version of the character into one of its best captains ever. It's time to let that arc fully blossom. Pike has become the beating heart of modern Trek. When Mount first stepped onto the bridge during Star Trek Discovery Season 2, fans were prepared to reject him. Who could possibly replace Lorca's unpredictability or Burnham's emotional complexity? And how could someone play Pike, the tragic founding captain, without getting crushed under the weight of canon and nostalgia? But then Mount opened his mouth, leaned on that science fiction cowboy warmth, and suddenly the entire fandom sat up straighter. This Pike was familiar yet new, principled yet approachable, idealistic yet deeply human. His smile became a safety blanket, his command style, a model of aspirational leadership. The phenomenon only deepened once Strange New Worlds launched, cementing Pike as one of the most genuinely beloved captains the franchise has ever delivered. In a world where so much sci-fi leans into grit and misery, Pike feels almost radical, an adult in the room who leads by compassion first and certainty second. Mount's plan, whispers suggest, aims to lean harder into Pike's unique flavor of leadership, granting him storylines that explicitly explore what makes him such a refreshing counterpoint to darker genre trends. And honestly, the series needs that now more than ever. The ensemble shines, but it's Pike who grounds everything. One of the quiet triumphs of SNW is that it's an ensemble show masquerading as a captain-led one. Lon's trauma, Spock's emotional awakening, Una's identity struggle, M'Benga's moral dilemmas, Chapel's evolving worldview, Ortegas's long overdue seat in the narrative spotlight. Everyone gets their turn. And good. Trek thrives when its cast feels like a stitched-together family rather than an orbit around the captain. But as Season 3 proved, when the narrative swings too far away from Pike, the show loses something subtle yet essential. Pike is more than the protagonist. He is the barometer for what Strange New Worlds believes about the future. He sets the tone. He embodies the optimism. He makes the Enterprise feel like home. Mount's proposal, based on interviews, social commentary, and comments to fans, seems to revolve around bringing Pike back to the forefront, not by diminishing the ensemble, but by allowing the captain's voice and perspective to anchor the stories more consistently. This is not about ego. It's about narrative stability. With so many complex character arcs unfolding at once, the show benefits from its emotional constant. And that constant is Pike. Pike's foreknowledge of his fate is still untapped gold. Let's be honest. Strange New Worlds has one of the richest dramatic setups any Star Trek series has ever possessed. Pike knows his future, down to the moment. He knows he will save cadets and suffer horrific injuries. He knows his happy life is borrowed time. He knows that the clock is ticking. Yet SNW has employed this knowledge sparingly, perhaps too sparingly. When the show digs into Pike's fate, his fear, acceptance, bargaining, or determination, the storytelling hits another gear entirely. Season 1's A Quality of Mercy is widely considered one of the finest episodes of modern Trek. Why? Because it let Pike confront his destiny head-on, fully exposed and fully human. Mount has hinted that he wants more of that. Episodes that weave Pike's internal conflict into the fabric of the show, not as a heavy-handed tragedy arc, but as a steady reminder of what defines him. A captain who knows the future is a captain uniquely capable of empathy and moral clarity. Pike doesn't just believe in people. He believes in the best version of them because he has already seen the worst version of himself. Imagine an entire season where Pike leans into this philosophy deliberately, where he chooses mentoring over micromanaging, where he takes risks rooted in compassion rather than strategy, where he wrestles with the idea that his fate might not be inevitable after all. This doesn't undermine canon, it enriches it, and letting Mount cook with that material would give the series the emotional through-line it deserves. The show has room to explore Pike's untold past. For all the screen time Pike has received across multiple shows, there is still a vast unexplored emotional landscape beneath the surface. We've glimpsed his friendships, his horse ranch home life, and his talent for cooking that borders on comedic perfection. But there is so much more richness waiting in the wings. One, the battles that shaped him. What early missions forged his philosophy? What failures haunt him? What victories defined him? Two, his relationship with Starfleet Command. Pike is a golden boy, but also a quiet rebel. How did he earn that trust? When did he challenge it? Three, the depth of his bonds with his crew. We know Pike cares, but we haven't yet fully explored mentor dynamics, especially with younger officers like Uhura, Ortegas, or even Sam Kirk. For romance and the price of command, Pike's personal life is tender but fraught. There is a yearning melancholy to him, as if he knows any deep attachment will end in heartbreak because of his fate. Mount has consistently advocated for stories that deepen Pike without breaking him, layering vulnerability and wisdom in equal measure. This kind of focus not only strengthens the captain, it strengthens the entire crew's stories by giving them a richer gravitational pull. Let Pike explore his scars. Let Pike be challenged. Let Pike reveal the layers we know are there. Pike's leadership style is more relevant than ever. In one of his interviews, Mount described Pike as the kind of leader the world desperately needs. Collaborative, thoughtful, calm under pressure, humorous when necessary, and firm when it matters most. He doesn't dominate the bridge, he nurtures it. He doesn't inspire by fear, he inspires by trust. At a time when leadership narratives in sci-fi often default to brooding, authoritarian, or traumatized commanders, Pike is a reminder that strength can be gentle. His approach deserves focus. Episodes that specifically examine the philosophy behind Pike-style command would not only strengthen the series, but provide something aspirational and emotionally grounding for viewers. Mount's plan appears to emphasize this very idea, giving Pike more command-centric stories instead of pushing him to the margins for ensemble balance. A captain's show should still feel like the captain's show, and Pike's brand of leadership truly has something to say. Letting Pike cook doesn't mean overshadowing anyone. A Pike-centric arc doesn't erase Lon's trauma, Spock's romance, Una's identity struggles, or M'Benga's ethical battles. In fact, focusing more consistently on Pike enhances those stories by tying them back to a shared philosophical center. The show doesn't need to become the Pike show.